I had meant to do this commentary when it first came out, but I got wrapped up in a whole bunch of other, commentaries and whatnot. But if y'all haven't heard, R. Kelly was recently dropped by RCA Records after the documentary with Lifetime. RCA, Sony, all of that bit. And shout out to Jason Black because he recently did a live stream on his channel where he really broke down everything involving this, and then he went, when Jason Black goes in, he goes all the way in. Like, he doesn't just scratch the surface, he goes to the core and really started going deeper into uh context when it comes to this as well as other things, because of course he mentioned Michael Jackson, because if you don't know, Michael Jackson definitely had ties to Sony. He owned part and a pretty significant amount of Sony's publishing and their artists, and uh gaining monetary and financial wealth from those artists over at Sony. And the whole thing, him calling Tommy Mottola the devil and whatnot, which actually hindered and hurt the sales of his last recorded studio album, which was Invincible back in 2002, which is a very underrated album, is a very solid and good album. But Michael Jackson really doesn't put or never put out anything that was considered half-assed. But anyway, back to R. Kelly. Yeah, he was dropped from his label RCA Sony, records after being with them for a number of years and giving them a lot of his time and whatnot in the studio. And it was all because of this uh, documentary. Now, I had heard, I don't know how true it is, that um, R. Kelly was trying to get his masters. I'm not sure entirely how true that is because I don't think he has it. He does not have his publishing or his masters. And that's one thing that a lot of black artists have to get into the habit of doing, is make sure that you're getting your masters and your publishing, because that's how you retain your material, and that's actually where your wealth really comes from. It's not so much you just going in the studio and you recording an album. I would say the biggest money comes from, for an artist, is your masters, your publishing, songwriting, producing, and touring. I would say it comes from that. You just going in the studio and you singing a song, that's nice. You're going to get little pennies there. Your albums don't really sell like that anymore, at least not the solid ones. You have to, everything is pretty much streamed like on Apple Music or Spotify or anything that has to be downloaded. That's really how stuff is generated now. It's not like back in the day where you had to actually go to a record store or a place like that and actually buy a solid album and you would make money that way. Those days are pretty much gone. I mean, people still go out and buy solid albums, but not like they used to, because it's too accessible to just go online and download an entire album. But yeah, but one thing that I really took from this whole ordeal with him being dropped from that label, and I had to read the article just to be sure before I actually put it into this commentary, because I wanted to make sure it was factual, and it is. They dropped R. Kelly from the label, but guess what they didn't drop from the label with him? His catalog. That means everything that he has done for Sony up until the point of him being dropped from the label is still with the label. That means they have every last song that he's ever sung for that label, every album that he's recorded under that label, and even other songs and productions that he's written or produced for other people under that label in that catalog. So you telling me that you're going to drop the artist from the label, but you're going to keep their music, so you can continue to make money off of the person that you deem to be this pedophile, so you deem to be this monster, that you deem to be this devil, because it's still making money. This is exactly why Michael Jackson called out Sony years ago. And he was spot on with it. He was spot on it with it. And the crazy thing is, while he was calling out Sony, he was still making money off of those artists. And they hated that. They hated that with a passion. And notice, soon after he did that, that's when all those allegations of child molestation started to pop back up again, but with a new batch of quote unquote victims. Now they want to do this new documentary about Michael Jackson that HBO is supposed to be putting on. I heard it's supposed to be coming on in April. You don't have to worry about me watching, let alone reviewing that crap, because I know it's going to be filled with nothing but a bunch of lies and fallacies. And then I just recently talked about Chris Brown and how he just got his master's, and all of a sudden, as soon as he gets his master's, a few days later, what pops up? Oh, this girl or this chick had got raped by a person in Chris Brown's entourage while Chris Brown was there. And notice you really don't hear too much about that anymore. It's like that one just came for a couple of days and it went because there was nothing there. It was nothing there to be found. Notice every time an artist, a black artist in particular, gets their masters or they get their publishing rights, then something eerie just happens. Same thing happened with Prince. He got his publishing in 2000, was it 2014, and he died in 2016, like 2 years later from a quote unquote opioid overdose, which I do not believe actually happened. At least not the way that the media, lamestream media, reported it. So like I said, Sony must hate. They hate R. Kelly, but they don't hate the music he made because after all, he will be deemed a legend within the realm of Sony because, and they need the money from him, but they're not going to allow him to continue to make the money off of the catalog, and they're not going to keep him on the label. Again, this is not me defending R. Kelly. I feel like I gotta put that out there every time because someone's gonna come along and they're gonna say, "Well, why are you defending R. Kelly?" Listen, I'm not defending R. Kelly. It's logic I'm using here. Something a lot of people in the last couple weeks since 2019 has come in has not used. And to be honest, they haven't been using logic even before 2019 got here, which is why a lot of people go around sounding like a bunch of damn clowns. It's the matter that they are holding on to something from this guy that they clearly supposed to hate. But if they really hate the guy, why not release the catalog? And they're not going to do it. They're retaining it. They said that it is property of Sony. Well, then that means you still have ties to him then. And then there's this Mute R. Kelly page, and I don't even have to guess who came up with that page. I already know who came up with that page, and they feel like they got a victory from that one. Like, you should see what they posted. They were like, we did it, we were successful in helping them to cut ties with R. Kelly, this, that, and the third. It's amazing. They love to help White Zaddy take down a black man whenever they can. They have become some of the biggest cheerleaders for Miss Ann and Uncle Charlie, not Uncle Charlie, Mr. Charlie, and they have no shame in their game, none. But I have a feeling this is going to blow up in a lot of people's faces. This is just the beginning right here, and I'm interested to see how all of this is going to play out, and it's going to be very interesting. And a lot of people are saying that R. Kelly needs to sue Lifetime, this, that, and the third. I was on that train too until I listened to what Jason Black had said on his show yesterday. And he was basically saying if R. Kelly and his team tried to sue Lifetime, they would be tied up in litigations for years. Because you got to think, Lifetime is owned by ABC. ABC is owned by Disney. Disney, as a corporation, as a conglomerate, has way more of a higher legal defense team on their side than R. Kelly could ever pull out of his arsenal. And they will be tied up in court proceedings for years. It'll be a lot of money wasted. And right now, R. Kelly will almost deplete his funds fighting this one case. So I don't think, after listening to that, I don't think it would be smart for him to go that route. A lot of people say he needs to pull and do what Russell Simmons did and like maybe leave the establishment. At first, I thought it was kind of silly, but at this point, it may not be a bad idea. Because notice we don't really hear about Russell Simmons now and what happened with him. And it's like as soon. And the thing is, Russell Simmons is an asshole. He is an asshole. But He was smart to leave as soon as that stuff came up. He did not stay and try to battle it out and try to stick around and say, you know what, maybe there's a chance in hell that I can actually walk past this unscathed. He was like, oh nah, I see what this Me Too thing is doing to black men. I'm getting the hell up out of here. So as soon as that stuff came out, he fled the establishment. He left, and we don't hear about Russell Simmons like hardly ever. And that was what, last year? Not last year, maybe 2 years ago. I think they said he went to New Zealand. So he's not here. He's not in the establishment. He is now a citizen of New Zealand. But we'll see how it all plays out. I didn't expect him to do all these commentaries on R. Kelly, but you know, when it's some bullshit that needs to be called out, you just gotta call it out. Y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. The links will be in the description. I will talk to you in the next one.
Oh, and one last thing, and I almost forgot this part, well, parts, because it's actually two things I wanted to mention. By Sony and RCA maintaining and holding on to R. Kelly's catalog, that means they can do, like I said, with that music with which they please. Which means after all of this blows over, do not be surprised or shocked if you hear, I don't know, say, I Believe I Can Fly in a commercial advertising birds that are injured somewhere. Because think about it. Look at all the commercials that the Jackson songs popped up in, or the Jackson 5, or even Michael Jackson, or Prince, or Biggie. All three of them men are dead, and they're using their music frivolously in a whole bunch of commercials, and they're not the only ones. So when all of this blows over, or when R. Kelly passes away and a few years have passed down the line after he dies, they're going to start using his music again. And another thing, to everyone who was peddling this mute R. Kelly thing, I hope you do know, in the midst of you muting R. Kelly, that he has co-written with other artists, that he has produced any soundtracks that he may be on. So that means no more Space Jam, no more Batman and Robin, anything like that. So that means if you like Age Ain't Nothing But a Number by Aaliyah, cancel that out. If you like You Were Not Alone by Michael Jackson, done. You like Contagious with him and Ron Isley, get that out of here. And a whole bunch of other songs that many of us have come to know and love over the years. That's all I really have to say.